Hello and welcome to VOA's Red Carpet. My name is Jackson Vunganyi. I want to thank you for joining us today. As always, right here on Red Carpet, we bring you the latest in entertainment news, in sports, in fashion, in film and television from around the world. Let's go. And we begin with fashion. The long-awaited fast couture collection of Paya Moss was presented at a visually bold show during Paris Couture Week that blurred the lines between fashion and art as it paid tribute to the ingenuity of black inventors, often overlooked by history. Among the presentation, there was a pastel pink lampshade dress with beaded fringes. There was a chessboard and a white metal folding chair and a bottle cap. Each costume a sophisticated work of sculpture. This show had even more buzz because Jean Raymond was the first black American designer invited by France's Chambre Syndicale to show a collection during the live-streamed event.
The inspiration for every show that I do is always to reverse the ratio of black people's contributions to popular culture and to culture in general. And in this specific case, we decided to highlight inventions by black people and show them in a non-traditional way, with garment construction mixed with fabrication, mixed with sculpture.
There were also dancers, a rap musician, a string section, and a history lesson from Ellen Brown, an activist, writer, and former leader in the Black Panther Party.
And the venue was significant. Villa Luello, an early 20th century mansion in leafy Irvington, New York, about 30 miles from New York City, built by Madame C.J. Walker, the daughter of enslaved parents who became a hair care magnate and a self-made millionaire. And now to the story of Beninoise and French storyteller Laeila Adjovi. Growing up in Gabon and South Africa, moving to France for her studies and working in Senegal, she developed a craft and passion for film photography. And in this episode of our Picture Africa series produced by our colleague Betty Ayoub, Laeila discusses some of her projects and where she gets her inspiration.
My name is Laeila Adjovi. I'm a French Beninese reporter, writer, photographer, and visual artist. I'm based in Dakar, Senegal. Coming from documentary photography and photojournalism, I get most of my inspiration from people. The series Malaika Dotu Sankofa, it's a visual tale that I worked on with the French photographer Loïc Oquet, and it stems from a poem that I wrote that's called Malaika Dotu Sankofa. That's the name of the character. So Malaika means angel, Dotu means stay strong, and Sankofa is this bird that flies with its head turned backward. The wings are very important. It's a metaphor for African identity, something that's really heavy to carry, but that also allows you to fly. My favorite is really just the wings that go through the wall. We created this character to express the idea of breaking free and use our own African identity to do so. Such Long Nights. It's a series about wives of migrants. Their man, their husband, their companion is gone to the West, whether it's Europe or the United States, in search of resources and a better life. I wanted to work in black and white, and I wanted to work analog because I processed the films and I did the prints in my darkroom at home, and I wanted the slow process to echo like the slow pace of their lives, which is really made of waiting and patience. So I just really wanted to be part of this project, to be able to make the voices of these women also heard. What I'm trying to do with this project, The Roads of Yemoja, is to talk about reconnection between Africans and their diasporas, right? To talk about African spirituality, to talk about transmission and transformation of culture, and also probably to literally shed light on the Yoruba and Ewefon spiritual tradition, the one that traveled far and wide without missionaries, without crusades, and that's still present to this day in the Americas. We hear a lot about photography and representation and how stories have to be told from the inside and how representation is very important for us Africans. But I think that it's also about connections, about being able to make people understand. That's what for me as an African photographer and as a photographer, that's what my craft is about. Yeah.
And in sports, Finland's Football Association is hoping to recruit more players by offering a free sports hijab to any player who wants one. The FA has distributed dozens of the headscarves, which are made out of stretchy fabric, to young players in a move to make the sport more accessible.
Heidi Pihlaja, head of development of women and girls football, explained to AFP how the initiative began.
We found that in Finland, it's been really hard to get girls of immigrant backgrounds into football clubs. So we wanted to start this initiative to welcome everyone, regardless of their religion and whether you want to wear a scarf or not.
During a training session at her club VJS in Vantaa, in the Finnish capital, 13-year-old Nasro Bahnan Halbade shared her excitement about the hijabs.
It doesn't flap around as much as normal, and you don't need to tuck it into your shirt.
Although the response has mainly been really positive, the scheme has also received criticism from people saying it demeans women or is bringing religion to the game. Pihlaja emphasized the women's right to choose.
We support every woman's right to choose themselves, whether they wear a scarf or not. That is central. In those situations where they want to use it, we want to show that they are welcome and that the headscarf isn't an obstacle.
The United Nations says that the Sahel region is the canary in the coal mine for the effects of climate change, drought and desertification that contributes to conflict and migration. Burkina Faso rapper turned farmer Art Melody channels the struggles of being on the front line of climate change into his music. Henry Wilkins reports from Ouagadougou.
Art Melody is a well-known musician in Burkina Faso. Rapping in the local Djoula and Moray languages, his songs convey the fear and emotion felt by millions of people across Africa's Sahel region because of the impact of climate change. The Sahel is seeing the worst effects from global warming of anywhere on the planet, says the UN. Farmers are on the front line of these changes, since 80% of the Sahel's economy is agrarian. Art Melody knows from experience the negative impact of climate change on farm production, because he is a farmer himself.
It's getting hotter and hotter, so there is less rain. Climate change is a reality. Our grandparents said it used to be that the rainy season would start in April, and now it can start in July. So there's a real difference between 1970 and now.
The UN says the impact of desertification and drought on farmers is one of several factors causing the Sahel conflict in Burkina Faso, Mali and Niger. Combatants include terror groups linked to Islamic State and Al-Qaeda. More than 2 million people have been displaced because of the fighting, and more than 20,000 people have been killed since 2012, according to data compiled by ACLED.
So when there's a drought, it's a disaster. It's hell. Either you flee because there is no way you can produce anymore, or you fight with your neighbors for the limited resources that are still there.
Conflicts often arise between ethnic groups that traditionally grow crops and those that herd livestock, since land usually cannot be used for both purposes. While this is a major obstacle, there are technologies that can help, says a representative of the Bukanabe Farmers Union.
We have a challenge in dealing with the agricultural production system and integrating it with livestock farming through agroecological actions. But there is a production system that combines several techniques and technologies in order to achieve better results.
As for Art Melody, his songs attempt to raise awareness of the plight of farmers like him. Until the effects of climate change in the Sahel are mitigated, farming will likely get harder and the Sahel's conflict will likely get worse.
And let's go to South America in Brazil, where a nearly 1,200 square foot mural by Brazilian artist Acme in the port region of Rio de Janeiro commemorates the struggle of black people in the United States and in Brazil. The mural, Visions of Resistance, Dreams of Liberty, portrays American and Brazilian leaders in the history of the black civil rights movement in both countries. Co-founder of Active Urban Nucleus, Hiroshima Shiobuya, told the Associated Press about the project.
Both Brazil and the United States are perhaps the foremost example of the fight for racial justice and against racism.
The art was sponsored by the U.S. diplomatic mission to Brazil and the city municipality in the Port of Rio, part of a cultural initiative between the two countries. A section of the Port of Rio, now called the Wonderful Port, highlights artistic works like graffiti and the painting of various other artists. President of Rio de Janeiro Port Region Urban Development, Gustavo Guarente, explains the significance of the mural located near the ruins of the old port, where tens of thousands of Africans were traded and enslaved.
It is a well-developed story that speaks to the local population who have been here since the first favela was founded, because unfortunately, that's where the first slaves came to live here in Rio de Janeiro.
The work of Carlos Esquivel, known as Acme, can be seen on walls all over the city, many of them in the populous favelas, where he focuses on themes of revival and social justice.
Now, decades before YouTube, there was Namjoon Peck, a Korean-American artist who believed that all people should have their own TV channel. Matt Debo explores a retrospective of this visionary video artist.
In 1960s America, television was a one-way signal beamed from only 3 major networks into almost every home. For artist Namjoon Peck, this situation called for disruption. Peck loved taking things apart and reassembling them in a very personal way. He is considered the first video artist who used the television image and the equipment itself as raw material for works that both celebrate and critique an increasingly technological culture. The San Francisco Museum of Modern Art is the U.S. venue for a major retrospective of Peck's 5 decades of creative output, work that in many ways predicted the digital world we live in now.
He sort of grew up as an artist, if you will, in the late 50s, early 60s, and attacking television was of prime importance. Talking back to the media was important.
This early piece literally deconstructs the TV signal using a strong magnet. In 1965, Peck purchased the first portable video camera available in the U.S. and used it to capture his performance art. He also pioneered using live cameras in installations. In TV Chair, a camera sends a live image to the monitor in a chair. Peck was born in Korea and lived in Japan and Germany before settling in the U.S.
He was arguably the first transnational artist who would reflect on the global nature of our life.
Peck collaborated with avant-garde artists as well as pop musicians, and most famously with a classically trained cellist for whom he built a TV cello. He was among the first artists to use satellite television, connecting live performers between continents.
Peck was famous for coining the phrase electronic superhighway in the mid-70s as an early vision of an internet where Namjoon Peck could have his own TV channel. And he would envision multiplicities of voices.
What would Peck, who died in 2006, have made of today's connected world?
I think he would have seen it as a great opportunity to really make the world one community, one global village.
And with that, we come to the end of our show today. I want to thank you for hanging out with me. My name is Jackson Vunganyi. For more entertainment news, remember to check us out at voanews.com. We are on all social media platforms, on Facebook, on Instagram, and on YouTube, where you can watch our videos. Remember to like, subscribe, and share. Until next time, goodbye everyone.